The button, the boots, and the bonfire. It begins in the cold pre-dawn mist, somewhere in rural Prussia. The morning mist rolled low over the quiet hills, the grass damp with dew, and the air smelling faintly of hay and leather. You wake slowly in your tent, not a tent, really, more of a canvas sheet propped up with sticks and hopes. Around you, other soldiers stir. Some cough, one snores like a cow. Someone's trying to light a pipe, but the flint won't catch. You're a foot soldier in the Grande Armée. Not an officer, not a drummer boy. Just someone who carries a musket, tries to keep his socks dry, and wonders what soup might be tonight, if there's soup at all. Your boots are the first thing you notice, hard leather, badly fitted. The left one has a hole near the heel. You rub them with a bit of grease made from tallow and ash. It smells like burnt soup and wet wool. The soles are worn nearly smooth from miles of marching across France, Saxony, and now into this nameless Prussian village, where the roofs are steep and the bread is hard. You button your coat, blue wool, stiff from yesterday's rain. The buttons, oddly enough, are finely detailed, tiny eagles, Napoleon's symbol. You spend a few slow seconds admiring one. It's chipped around the edge, probably scraped against a rock when you crawled under that fence last week. You think of writing a letter to your sister about the buttons, but you have no ink, and she doesn't read very well anyway. Someone calls roll. You stand, stretch, yawn. Your bones creak like old floorboards. The cook is stirring something in a dented pot, lentils, onions, perhaps a bit of leftover bacon from yesterday's plundered farm. You don't ask questions, you just accept the warmth. Nearby, a young soldier named Henri sharpens his bayonet with a whetstone. The sound, shick, 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 is oddly soothing. Henri doesn't talk much. He hums sometimes, mostly lullabies from the south of France. Your regiment is marching east. No one is sure why. Maybe toward a town, maybe away from one. Maybe the Russians are ahead, or behind, or nowhere at all. Someone says they saw a cannon wheel stuck in the mud 10 kilometers back, a sign the artillery is bogged down again. You nod. That's what cannon wheels do. They bog. The general rides by on a tall, white horse. His coat is brilliant, freshly brushed. His boots shine. You can see your own dirty face reflected in one spur. He doesn't speak, just nods once. You nod back even though he probably didn't see you. Your pack is heavy. It contains One extra shirt, stiff with salt. A deck of cards missing the Queen of Hearts. A spoon carved from cherry wood. A prayer book with pages used for rolling cigarettes. A single wrinkled letter from someone named Emily. You don't remember who she was, but you keep it anyway. Marching begins. Slowly. Boots crunch frost. Muskets rattle on backs. Someone hums the tune to La Marseillaise, but softly. No one wants to draw attention. And so the day stretches, long and flat like the fields you pass. Trees drift by. Birds watch you, then flutter away. You think about dinner. You think about Paris. You think about your toes. Mostly, though, you think about buttons. The long road through Saxony. The road is little more than a series of muddy guesses. Sometimes it curves where there's no need to. Sometimes it disappears under a puddle large enough to float a rowboat. You've stopped asking questions. The army moves as it always does, slowly, deliberately, in long lines of wool and leather, and the clatter of cookware tied to backpacks. Your regiment is somewhere in Saxony now, at least that's what the sergeant said last night while chewing a bit of salted horse meat. You didn't ask where in Saxony. No one really knows. There are signs, of course, nailed to crooked posts at the edge of villages with names like Kleinstadt, Borkenweiler, or something ending in Dorf. The names don't stick in your mind. They drift in, then float away like steam from a mug of weak tea. The morning begins with the usual ritual. Boots on, coat buttoned, musket slung, and a brief moment staring into the sky, wondering whether those clouds look friendly or like trouble. You try to remember the last time the sun was warm. Maybe 2 weeks ago? Maybe in Würzburg. Or was it Fulda? Henri, the quiet one with the humming habit, offers you a heel of bread. It's hard enough to use as a weapon, but you accept it gratefully and chew it slowly, letting it dissolve like a small stone in your mouth. It tastes faintly of onions, or maybe socks. It's hard to tell anymore. The march begins again. The road through Saxony is lined with tall trees, bare-branched. The leaves have all gone, scattered by the wind or crushed beneath thousands of boots. Occasionally a bird calls out overhead, wondering what all this noise is. Horses snort, wheels creak. A pot clinks gently against someone's pack. A voice coughs behind you. A general somewhere ahead shouts something about pace, but no one listens. You pass through a village. It is the kind of place that seems to exist only when people are walking through it. Half-timbered houses lean like old men in the wind. A few villagers peer out from behind shutters. A woman in a gray shawl is sweeping her doorstep with more determination than necessary. A child watches you with round eyes, clutching a wooden toy horse with one leg missing. You smile. The child does not smile back. The village has one inn, one blacksmith, one church, and 2 cows. Both cows look vaguely confused. One chews hay. The other stares directly at you, like it knows something you don't. You don't stop in the village. You never do. Instead, the march winds onward, past fields that used to grow wheat, past fences that have mostly fallen down, past scarecrows that have lost their arms. One scarecrow wears a real hat, likely taken from a soldier like you. You tip your head to it in passing. It doesn't respond. Around midday, you pause for a rest. It's not long. 15 minutes, maybe 20, just long enough to sit on a log, check your socks, and stretch your back like an old cat. Someone passes around a flask. The contents burn, but they burn in a good way. Henri hums again. This time it's a lullaby that reminds you of your grandmother, the one with the round face and the enormous cat who used to sit on your lap no matter what. You remember her soup. It was always too salty, but warm. The sergeant shouts something unintelligible, marching resumes. Afternoon clouds hang low, and the road becomes a question again. You step carefully, one foot after another, trying not to twist your ankle in one of the many holes left by carts, hooves, and whatever large creature trampled through last week. At some point, a man with a thick mustache and a terrible singing voice begins a marching song. It's about a girl named Margot and a goat named Jean-Claude. The words make very little sense, but they rhyme, and you find yourself singing along without thinking. As evening falls, the light turns a sort of smoky gold, the way it does when the world is getting tired. The air smells of chimney smoke and wet bark. You see a fire up ahead. Camp is being set. Tents, or what passes for tents, are going up. Someone's already boiling something in a dented tin kettle. You set your gear down slowly, like an old man folding laundry. You sit on a rock. Your legs tingle. Your eyes sting. You eat what's handed to you. Some kind of stew, maybe with carrots, maybe not. You don't ask. A letter changes hands, passed from a courier to the captain, then to a soldier named Jules, who reads it under a flickering lantern. His lips move, but no sound comes out. When he's done, he folds the letter and holds it for a long time before slipping it inside his shirt. You watch the fire. The flames dance the same way they always do, high, low, then higher again. Someone laughs, someone snores, someone prays. You crawl beneath your blanket and stare up at the sky. The stars are faint tonight, but they're there, just like always, silent, distant, comforting, and slowly your mind begins to drift. Soup and socks at the front morning arrives without warning, as it often does. Not with trumpets, not with declarations, but with the quiet chill of damp wool and the distant clatter of someone trying to relight last night's fire. Your eyes open slowly, heavy like the lids of old teapots. Around you, the world is gray and soft. Mist coils around the camp like a lazy ribbon curling through boots, blankets, and barrels. Your toes are cold, not numb, just quietly offended by the weather. You reach down to feel your socks. They are damp, as expected. You peel them off carefully like old parchment and hang them near a smoldering pile of coals, hoping they'll be less offensive by nightfall. You put on the second pair, the better ones, full of holes, yes, but somehow more optimistic. Someone nearby sneezes twice. Henri, of course. He always sneezes in the morning, as if his lungs are reminding the world that they still exist. He waves at you, barely lifting his hand, then returns to examining his bayonet with the kind of focus usually reserved for art critics or watchmakers. A pot rattles over a small flame. Breakfast. It isn't much. It never is. Some kind of watery soup made from barley, onions, and possibly the ghost of a potato. A few slivers of something tougher than meat float in the broth, most likely a piece of old shoe, generously seasoned with pepper and hope. But it's warm, and it doesn't argue when you drink it. You hold the tin cup in both hands, savoring the way it warms your fingers more than your stomach. Each sip is slow, deliberate. The steam curls into your nose like an old memory, faintly earthy, faintly herbal, faintly not quite food. Across the fire, a soldier named Bernard is talking to a loaf of bread. It's unclear if this is a joke or simply Tuesday. No one questions it. You nod politely at the bread, just in case. Today, the orders are simple. Hold position. Wait. Watch. Don't freeze. You can do that. You're very good at not freezing, at least on the outside. On the inside, it's a more complicated story. You spend most of the morning mending your coat with a bent needle and a bit of string that used to belong to someone named Marcel, who no longer marches with you. The thread is yellow, the coat is blue, and the result is ugly but functional, like everything else in the army. Time passes slowly. You hear birds. You hear boots. You hear a dog barking in the distance. An actual dog, not a metaphor. Probably a village mutt, confused by all the human chaos nearby. You wonder what he's balking at. You hope it's something interesting. By midday, the sun briefly breaks through the clouds, casting a silver light over the muddy road and making the puddles shimmer like little coins. You almost smile. Almost. Someone plays a flute, not a good flute and not a good song, but it's enough to break the silence. The tune is slow, a lullaby from Brittany, maybe. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. The notes float gently into the gray sky, joining the smoke and the smell of onions. The captain gives a short speech. You don't listen. He's fond of speeches. They tend to involve words like valor, glory, and France. But today, you're more interested in patching the hole in your sock with a piece of waxed paper from a tobacco pouch. It might work, it might not. Either way, it gives you something to do. Afternoon brings nothing new. No orders, no movement, no real sense of purpose. Just more watching, more waiting, more soup. The second pot tastes suspiciously like the first, though this one may contain a turnip, or possibly a small rock. You clean your musket for the third time this week, not because it needs cleaning, but because it's better than thinking. The motions are soothing. Powder pan, lock plate, barrel, ramrod, over and over, like a lullaby made of metal and grease. Henri naps with his hat over his face. Bernard is talking to the bread again. You nod at both. Eventually, the sun begins to droop toward the trees. The sky turns the color of worn parchment. Shadows grow long and slow. You wrap your coat a little tighter and sit near the fire, poking at the embers with a stick that used to be part of a fence post. You think about home, not with sadness, just with distance, the smell of fresh bread, the feel of clean sheets, the sound of the river near your village in spring, things that are small, things that are quiet, things that don't march. Someone mentioned snow might fall tonight. You nod. It feels like snow. You pull your blanket tighter and lie back onto the packed earth. The sky above is empty now. No stars, no moon, just a soft gray curtain waiting to drop. And as your eyes drift shut, you realize you've spent the whole day doing almost nothing, and yet, somehow, you're tired anyway. A rainy day in a Polish farmhouse. It starts with rain, not a dramatic storm, not thunder and lightning, just rain, steady, soft, and endless, the kind that seeps into everything, even your thoughts. It taps gently on your hat, rolls down your coat, pulls at the tips of your boots, and whispers across the fields like a sleepy lullaby. Your regiment has stopped for the night, or maybe longer. No one is sure. The general muttered something about logistics, and the quartermaster hasn't spoken in hours. Everyone seems content to pretend they're not in a war today, just traveling slowly through mud. You're in Poland now, or so the map says. Though the map has lied before, the farmhouse is old, the kind of old that doesn't bother keeping track anymore. Its wooden beams are dark with time and smoke. The roof sags slightly in the middle like a tired man resting his elbows on a table. The walls creak even when no one touches them. A faded horseshoe hangs crookedly above the door. For luck, maybe. Though Luck hasn't been seen around here in quite some time. You're sitting on a wooden stool in what used to be a kitchen. The fireplace is cold, but someone's trying to get it going. The smoke curls sideways before giving up and slinking up the chimney. You can smell old onions, something pickled, and the unmistakable scent of wet socks drying by the hearth. Your own socks are nearby, steaming faintly. They look like sad puppets who've lost their audience. The room is filled with quiet people doing quiet things. One man is carving a button from a bit of bone. Another is mending a torn cuff with thread so thin it disappears into the fabric like spider silk. Henri is asleep on a pile of grain sacks, snoring softly, his hat pulled low over his eyes. You sip something warm. It might be tea. It might be hot water with a leaf in it. Either way, it helps. The cup is made of tin, dented in 3 places, and shaped like it's been stepped on by a horse. You hold it close to your chest like a small treasure. Outside, the rain continues. It wraps the house in a soft blanket of noise, not harsh, not loud, just constant. You can hear it ticking against the shutters, drumming on the roof, splashing into puddles. It blurs the world, makes everything slower, gentler. Even the wind sounds sleepy. The Polish woman who owns the farmhouse is somewhere in the back room. She's been letting soldiers stay here all week, 1 regiment at a time. She speaks no French. You speak no Polish. But there's an understanding between you, a sort of shared shrug of the shoulders that says, this is life now. Rain, boots, and strangers sleeping in your pantry. She brings you a small plate of something warm. Stew, maybe, or porridge. It contains cabbage. You're sure of that. And something else. Maybe beets, maybe carrots, maybe luck. You smile in thanks. She nods once and vanishes behind a curtain. Bernard is here too, naturally. He's found a half-broken violin and is tuning it in the corner, humming tunelessly. Every few minutes he plucks a string and winces. It's not music, not really, but it's something. Something to distract from the sound of boots dripping on the floorboards. The hours pass slowly, the way only rainy afternoons can. You polish your belt buckle with the edge of your sleeve. You fold and unfold your scarf 3 times. You count the buttons on your coat. Still 8, still chipped, still hanging on. The wind picks up outside. The shutters rattle like bones in a tin box. The rain begins to fall sideways, pushed by gusts that moan softly through the gaps in the walls. Someone puts another log on the fire. It sparks with a sigh and settles into a steady glow. You lean back against the wall, close your eyes, and listen. You hear the crackle of the fire, the soft breathing of soldiers asleep, the violin string that refuses to cooperate, The rain, like 1,000 tiny fingers tapping gently on every surface. Somewhere in the distance, a rooster crows, confused by the storm. You remember, suddenly, the smell of your grandmother's kitchen. Bread baking, herbs hanging from the beams, the slow, peaceful sound of a kettle coming to a boil. You wonder where she is now. You wonder if it's raining there, too. Someone is snoring. Someone else is whispering a prayer. You are doing neither. You are simply here, wrapped in the smell of wet wood and soup, tucked away in an old Polish farmhouse, far from home, far from the battlefield, and far, for now, from worry. You close your eyes again, and the rain keeps falling. Letters from nowhere. Evening has arrived, quiet and without ceremony. The rain has stopped for now, but the air is still damp. Not wet exactly, just thoughtful. The clouds above the Polish countryside are thick and gray, holding in the warmth like an old wool blanket. The light fades slowly, slipping away like a tired cat retreating into the rafters. You're sitting near the hearth, still in the same kitchen, still wrapped in the same smells, smoke, onions, old leather, and faintly sour cabbage. The fire crackles lazily now, its energy mostly spent, like a storyteller running out of words. You've taken out your writing kit, or what remains of it, a scrap of folded parchment, a stub of a pencil worn down to the size of a finger bone, a flat tin inkwell you refill using melted snow and ash when supplies run out. Your handwriting is not what it once was. The cold and the marching have made your fingers stiff, your lines uneven, your loops tired. Still, you write. You always write, even when there's nowhere to send the letters. Tonight's letter is addressed to your sister, or perhaps your mother, or maybe just to someone. It doesn't matter. You begin the same way you always do. Dearest one, the rain has stopped, and we are warm enough for now. You write slowly, carefully, as if each word were a pebble placed gently into a stream. You describe the farmhouse, the crooked beams, the quiet Polish woman, the soup that may or may not contain turnip. You describe Henry's humming, Bernard's violin, the boots drying by the fire. You don't mention the cold, not really, or the pain in your knee, or the way your toes have gone numb 3 times in the last week. You leave those parts out. They don't belong in letters. Outside, the sky is darkening. Someone lights a candle and places it in the center of the table. The flame dances in the draught, flickering shadows across the walls like ghosts stretching their arms. You watch the wax begin to pool, slow and golden, like honey melting from a spoon. Around you, other men are writing too, each of them lost in thought, in silence, in memory. Some are hunched over scraps of newspaper. Some use charcoal from the fire. One writes on the back of a torn playing card. Another is carving something into a piece of bark with the point of a knife. A message for someone, or maybe for no one. Henry has taken out a tiny book. He opens it to the middle, reads a few lines silently, then closes it again and tucks it into his coat. He looks at you, nods once, then returns to staring into the flames. Your letter continued. I cannot say where we are, only that we have stopped for the night. There is quiet here. It reminds me of when we used to visit the orchard. You pause, pencil hovering. The orchard, apples in bloom, bees so loud you could hear them before you saw them, the creaking cart with the loose wheel, the dog who always stole bread when no one was looking. These memories rise up like mist, familiar and far away. You smile faintly, then continue. I hope you are well. I hope you are safe. I hope you remember the sound the gate made in the wind. You fold the letter carefully, crease it just so. You tuck it into your pack alongside the others, a small stack, bound with string, growing heavier with each week. None of them have stamps, none have addresses, but they are real. That's enough. The fire is dimming. Someone adds a log. The flame rises briefly, then settles again, like an old man returning to his chair after a long walk. The candle is nearly gone. The wick sputters once, twice, and then goes out. The room is quiet now. Outside, the clouds move slowly, brushing across the moon. Inside, the breathing of sleeping soldiers fills the space with a soft rhythm. You lie down on a straw-stuffed sack. It smells faintly of potatoes and dust. You pull your coat over your shoulders and rest your head against your rolled-up scarf. You think of the orchard again, of the gate creaking in the breeze, of hands writing letters no one will read, and sleep begins to pull you under. The longest nap before Leipzig. The day before a battle is always strange, not loud, not rushed, just quiet. Slower than usual, softer around the edges, like the world is holding its breath. You've stopped marching for now. The army is gathering somewhere outside Leipzig. A name you've heard muttered in camp, repeated by messengers, scrawled on dirty maps with smudged lines and arrows going every direction. They say a great battle is coming. They say it might last days. They say it might be the biggest one yet. But not today. Today, you rest. You're in an old stable now. The hay has been swept to the sides. The air smells of horses long gone. Dust drifts lazily through the sunbeams that slip in between the boards. Outside, boots crunch and wheels creak and orders are barked. But inside, in this little wooden sanctuary, the world is slow. You lie on your back, staring at the beams above. They're old, cracked. One of them has a nail sticking out at a strange angle. You watch it for a long time, as if it might do something. Your coat is folded under your head. Your fingers are laced together on your chest. Your boots are off, steaming faintly near the door. Your socks are dry, a rare luxury. You wiggle your toes just to remind yourself they're still there. Someone nearby is snoring gently. You think it's Jules. He snores like a man who's been practicing. Not loud, just steady. Like a metronome made of soft thunder. Henri is in the corner, sleeping with his back against the wall, hat pulled over his face, legs stretched out like a tired puppet. Bernard is there too, lying on a sack of oats, muttering something in his sleep about goats and chocolate. You're not sure if it's a dream or a memory, possibly both. You close your eyes, and the dreams begin to come. At first, they're small, fragments, a warm room, a cup of cider, the crunch of snow beneath the sled, your mother humming in the kitchen, the smell of baking bread. Then you're walking through a town that doesn't exist. The buildings are made of paper. The streets are cobbled with buttons. Everyone wears your face. A general waves at you from a window and offers you a bowl of soup that smells like apples and gunpowder. You wake briefly, not fully, just enough to turn onto your side. The hay beneath you rustles softly. A shaft of sunlight has shifted, now warming your back. Someone is talking outside, in German, or maybe Czech, or maybe French, spoken with so much mud in it that the words come out soft and round. You can't tell. You don't care. You drift again. This time you're sitting at a table, a long one, dozens of soldiers eating breakfast in perfect silence. There are no plates, just wooden boards with tiny spoons carved into them. The tea is cold. The jam is hot. No one speaks. Bernard is painting pictures with marmalade. Henri is sewing a handkerchief onto a rooster that winks at you. You smile in your sleep, then you stir again. Still in the stable, still in the quiet. The battle hasn't come yet. The sun is lower now, the shadows longer. Someone has placed a blanket over your legs. You don't know who. You don't ask. You just pull it closer, let it wrap around your knees like a kindly grandmother. Your body feels heavy, but in a good way, like warm dough, like a cat curled up after dinner. The hay smells better now, less dust, more memory. You could stay here forever. You hear footsteps, a soft voice, a laugh, a kettle whistling in another room. You think you smell cinnamon. You definitely smell firewood. And then you fall into a deeper sleep. This time, you're in Paris. It's summer. The sky is bright blue. The streets clean. You're not wearing a uniform, just a shirt and soft shoes. Someone waves at you from a bakery. You wave back. You're not sure who they are, but you love them. The bread is warm, the wine is cold, the air is filled with the sound of horses walking slowly, not marching, not fleeing, just walking, like they have nowhere in particular to be. You sit on a bench. The breeze smells like flowers and tobacco. You lean back, close your eyes, and rest your head on your own shoulder. The battle is not today. Today is just a nap, and a long one after the battle before the next one. The guns have stopped. That's the first thing you notice, not the silence exactly, because it isn't silent. There are still sounds, boots shifting in mud, pots clinking, a distant cough, someone sharpening a blade on a rock. But the guns, they're gone. The thunder, the smoke, the crackling sky, gone. And in its place, a strange kind of hush. Not peace, not relief, just stillness. You sit on a low stone wall near what used to be a farmhouse. It's mostly rubble now. The roof collapsed yesterday. The door burned away the day before. The windows are gone, but the shutters still hang there, clinging stubbornly to the frame like eyebrows over closed eyes. You hold a tin cup in both hands. The tea is lukewarm, maybe even cold. You're not sure. You drink it anyway, letting it trickle down slowly, coating your throat like a worn-out lullaby. Your fingers are stiff, not from cold, but from clutching your musket for so long that your palms feel shaped around it. Even now, without the weapon in your hands, you feel it, the shape, the weight, the echo of something that refuses to leave. Henri sits nearby. He hasn't said much since the battle, just hums, quietly, like wind moving through tall grass, a tune without melody, a rhythm without rhythm. He's plucking dried blood from the hem of his sleeve, like lint, like nothing. Bernard is lying in a patch of grass, staring at the sky as if it owes him an explanation. He hasn't moved in an hour, just blinks occasionally. He still has his violin. It's cracked now, the strings broken, but he holds it like a sleeping cat. You try not to think too hard. That's the trick. You focus on small things. The pattern of your bootlaces, the way the sunlight glints on a spoon, the color of the dirt under your nails, darker than usual, almost purple. Around you, others do the same. A soldier is wiping mud from a belt buckle, not because it matters, but because it gives his hand something to do. Another man is digging a small trench with a spoon, muttering quietly to himself about potatoes. Someone is sewing a patch into the elbow of a coat with thread that doesn't match. It's bright red. The coat is blue. No one cares. The captain walks by, nods, says nothing. His uniform is clean. His face is pale. You wonder how many times he's done this. how many fields, how many names. Someone calls for rations. The cook has salvaged a dented pot from the wreckage of a wagon. It contains soup, or something soup-shaped. Carrots, lentils, a faint taste of ash. You eat slowly. The spoon feels heavy. Each bite tastes like steam and memory. You stare at the ground. There's a playing card in the mud, the Queen of Hearts, torn at the corner, stained with something dark. You pick it up, wipe it on your coat, and tuck it into your pocket, for luck, or for no reason at all. The sky is soft today, not blue, not gray, just soft. The kind of sky that doesn't ask questions, the kind that lets you breathe a little slower. You lie back on the grass. It smells of gunpowder and moss and something sweeter underneath. Maybe clover, maybe home. You close your eyes and listen to the wind move through the broken beams of the farmhouse. It sounds like a flute with no song. Time drifts like a feather, like fog, like boots without feet. You think of the orchard again. You think of warm bread and paper letters and shoes that didn't leak. You think of the people who are still here and the ones who aren't. And you let the air carry you for a while, not away, just gently for a while. Lice, laundry, and the lullaby. There are few things as universal in the army as lice. They creep into your seams. They nest in your collars. They throw tiny, invisible parties in the warmest parts of your clothing, and they never leave. You've grown used to them now. In a strange way, they're comforting, familiar, like roommates who never pay rent but always show up. It's laundry day, or at least something like it. There's no official calendar anymore. You just decide one morning, after scratching your neck for the 100th time, that enough is enough. The river nearby is shallow, slow, and smells faintly of moss and soap and yesterday's stew. You sit on a flat rock by the water's edge, barefoot, shirtless, your trousers rolled to the knees, sleeves damp from repeated dunkings. The current is gentle, like a tired old friend brushing against your ankles. Henri is beside you, whistling a lullaby you can't name. It's soft and slightly out of tune, the kind of melody someone's grandmother might hum while peeling apples. The song has no beginning and no end. It just floats there, wrapping the moment in a sleepy ribbon of sound. Your shirt is in the water, soaked and soapy, covered in little bubbles that glisten briefly before popping and disappearing. You scrub it slowly with a brush made from twigs and horsehair. The fabric resists at first, stiff from sweat and rain and everything else it's seen. But the water helps. The water always helps. You find yourself scrubbing in slow circles, hypnotized by the rhythm. Dip, scrub, rinse, wring, repeat. A little downstream, someone has made a line out of old twine and two sticks. Damp shirts flap lazily in the breeze like sleepy flags. Socks hang in pairs, some with holes, others with mended toes, all of them proud to be clean, or close to it. Bernard is knee-deep in the water, arguing with a pair of trousers. They won't sink, no matter how hard he pushes them. You hear him mutter something about treason. You smile and shake your head. Farther upstream, a group of soldiers are bathing, not properly, just splashing water on faces, under arms, behind knees. There's laughter, the kind that's not loud, but real. One man is using a bayonet to shave. Another has tied a ribbon around his soap and claims it makes it smell more like home. There are no mirrors, only the river. You glance at your reflection. A face stares back, familiar but older, more lined, more tired. You look like someone who has seen too many boots and not enough beds. You finish with the shirt and move to the socks. You've patched them twice already. There's not much sock left, just thread and willpower. You scrub anyway. It's not about the result. It's about the motion, the slow, repetitive ritual of cleaning something when the rest of the world feels broken. Dip, scrub, rinse, wring, hang. A bird calls overhead, a blackbird maybe. You look up and see it perched on a branch, feathers fluffed, watching you with casual curiosity. You nod at it. It doesn't nod back. Eventually, the laundry is done, mostly. You sit back on your rock, arms wet to the elbows, shirtless in the soft afternoon light. Your coat hangs nearby, steaming gently in the sun. Henry lies in the grass now, hat over his eyes, one leg crossed over the other, whistling that same lullaby. The wind picks it up and carries it across the field toward the camp, where a pot of soup is beginning to bubble over a small fire. The song fades. The lice aren't gone, not really. They never are. But for now, your skin itches just a little less. Your shirt smells faintly of wild herbs and ash, and your socks, for the first time in weeks, are almost dry. You lean back on the grass, eyes half closed, listening to the water trickle, the fire crackle, the wind hum. It's a good day, not because anything happened, but because you had clean socks and a lullaby. Cannons in the mist. Morning comes without color. The world outside your tent, if it can still be called that, is wrapped in a thick gray mist. It clings to everything, trees, horses, the curls of your breath. Even time itself seems caught in it, like a watch buried in porridge. You awaken slowly, not because you are rested, but because your back has decided It has had enough of straw and damp wool. You stretch like a cat that has forgotten what comfort feels like. Your fingers find your boots, still damp from yesterday, and you pull them on with the resignation of someone who knows that dry feet are a distant memory. The mist muffles everything. Sounds arrive slower than they should. A cough here, a hoof stomp there, the low murmur of men moving through fog. Everything is blurry, like a dream that hasn't decided if it wants to be remembered, and then, far away, you hear it. A cannon, just one, not loud, not near, just a low, distant thoom that rolls across the land like a yawn. No one reacts. Not really. You don't flinch. Neither does Henri, who is already awake, polishing his bayonet with a scrap of linen as if nothing happened. Bernard raises his head briefly, sniffs the air, then rolls back under his coat with the practiced shrug of someone who's heard worse before breakfast. Another cannon, farther off. Thoom! You sit up fully now, wrap your coat tighter, and peer into the fog. It's thick as soup and colder. The trees have disappeared. Even the camp is mostly a whisper of shapes, shadows moving behind curtains of cloud. A man walks by 10 feet from you, but all you see is the outline of his pack and the tip of his bayonet poking out like the fin of a shark. The fog is not frightening, it's gentle, protective almost, like the world has wrapped itself in a shawl to keep the chaos away just for a little while. Another cannon, this one closer. You count the seconds between the sound and the echo. You forget what it means, but you do it anyway. It gives the moment shape. Henry stands, brushing straw from his knees, and offers you a piece of bread. Stale, slightly damp, and flecked with something you don't question. You accept it, take a bite, and chew slowly as if the fog will wait for you. Someone coughs in the mist, someone hums, someone else sharpens a knife with long, patient strokes. There are no orders yet, no bugles, no flags, just the mist and the cannon, always the cannon. You rise and walk toward the fire pit. It's smoldering, barely alive. You crouch and warm your fingers over the coals. The heat is shy, like it's forgotten how to comfort you. Still, it helps. A sergeant passes by, muttering something about placement, fortifications, visibility. None of it matters right now, not in the fog. Another cannon, louder, that one you felt in your chest. A soft vibration, like a drumbeat against your ribs. You pause and wait. Still nothing nearby, just the echoes, the suggestion of something far away and angry. You wonder if the enemy is just as confused, just as cold, just as tired. Maybe they're crouched behind their own fires right now, listening to the same fog, eating the same bread, thinking the same thoughts. Maybe right now there are men in blue coats and men in red coats, and men in green coats, all doing exactly what you're doing. Nothing. Just breathing, waiting, listening to cannons in the mist. You sit again. Watch your breath float in front of you like ghostly ribbon, and you think not about war, not about marching, not even about home, but about how quiet the world feels when the fog becomes your blanket and the cannons stay far enough away to let you rest. The march home that never ends. It begins the way it always does. A horn, a shout, the slow rustle of coats and canvas, boots being pulled on with sighs, belts tightened, buttons checked, eyes still half closed, and then the march, not toward a battlefield, not toward glory or conquest or even soup, just forward, a direction, a motion, a quiet kind of momentum that doesn't question itself. They say this is the march home, but no one's quite sure what home is anymore. You walk at the usual pace, slow, steady, somewhere between thoughtful and resigned. The mud is still mud. The road is still more ruts than road. You follow the person in front of you. They follow the one ahead of them. A long line of tired feet and tired faces and tired coats disappearing over a hill. The landscape passes you gently. Empty fields, bent fences, trees stripped bare by wind and time, a scarecrow wearing a hat more fashionable than yours. The towns look familiar, even when they aren't. Same shutters, same soot-stained walls, same curious children watching from doorways. You nod at one. She doesn't nod back. Henri is humming again. It's not even a tune this time, just a sound. It's like the vibration of something worn and wooden, like a lullaby made from splinters. Bernard is walking beside you, quietly chewing on something, maybe bark, maybe regret. He doesn't speak, but now and then he gestures to things. A flock of birds, a cart stuck in a ditch, a boot that no one's wearing. You pass it all. You don't stop, because the march home never really stops. At midday, you sit in a ditch and eat the last bit of your biscuit. It's hard enough to chip a tooth, but you soak it in water first. Let it soften. Let it become something almost edible. You close your eyes and feel the sun on your eyelids. It's warm today. Not warm enough to matter, but enough to make your shoulders loosen just a little. A bee buzzes past your ear. For a moment, you remember summer. Proper summer. The kind with long shadows and wheat tall enough to get lost in. The kind with clear water, with cold fruit, with voices singing old song over clinking glasses. Not this pale thing they call summer now, where the sun is thin and the wind forgets to be gentle. Someone nearby is talking about Paris. How many miles left? What the streets might look like? Whether there will be parades, whether anyone will remember their names. You don't say anything. You're not sure Paris exists anymore, not the Paris you knew. The march resumes. Boots again. The slow shuffle, the creak of leather, the slap of a rolled blanket against your back with each step. Your legs ache, but not in a sharp way, more like a soft reminder that they've been doing this for too long. You pass a field of crows. One of them follows you for a while, flying from fence post to fence post. It caws once, loudly, and you swear it sounds like laughter. The road splits. No one asks which way to go. The officers point, the column turns, and the march continues. You think quietly about your bed, your real bed, the one back home with the creaky frame and the blanket that smelled like rosemary and soap. You wonder if it's still there, if someone else is sleeping in it now, if the pillow still has the dent where your head used to rest. The thought makes your chest feel full, not sad, not happy, just full. You take another step, and another, and another. Evening falls slowly, like a curtain pulled by a tired hand. The column stops near a grove of trees. Camp is set with the usual ritual: fire pits, wet blankets, soup of questionable origin. You sit on a log, peel off your boots, and stare at the steam rising from your socks. Henri is already asleep, back against a tree, mouth open, hat pulled low. Bernard is writing something in a tiny book. You don't ask what. You just watch the ink sink into the page. You lie down, look at the sky, and wonder, will this march ever truly end, or is home just the next place you stop, the next fire, the next quiet corner of the road? You don't answer. You just let sleep take you, softly, slowly, one step at a time. A letter finally delivered. The village appears like a mirage, quiet, gray, and small enough to miss if you blink at the wrong moment. A few cottages huddle close together like old friends, their roofs sagging under the weight of years and rain. A church bell rings once, not quite on the hour. It sounds like it's doing its best. You arrive just past noon, not marching, not running, just walking, the way tired men do when they've run out of reasons to hurry. The roads here are narrow and crooked. The cobblestones are loose. Chickens roam freely as if they own the place. No orders today. No cannon fire, just an afternoon in transit and the briefest chance to sit down and remember how to breathe. You spot the post house immediately. It's not large, just a squat building with peeling paint and a wooden sign that reads "Courier" in faded black letters. The door sticks. The bell above it doesn't ring. Inside it smells like dust and ink and dry wood, a peaceful sort of smell. A clerk sits behind the counter, hunched over a stack of folded papers. His spectacles are cracked. His hands are stained with glue. He looks up briefly, nods once, and returns to his sorting. You step up quietly, pulling a small packet from your coat. The letters, still bound in twine, are soft around the edges now. Some are yellowed. One is written on the back of a menu from a tavern in Bavaria, another on bandage wrapping. You've carried them for months, maybe longer. You slide the packet across the counter. Only one, you say softly, was ever meant to be delivered. The clerk raises his eyebrows but doesn't speak. He unties the twine with care and lifts the top letter. You point. That one. It's addressed in smudged pencil. Mademoiselle Josephine Armand, Rue de Lanterne Saint-Étienne. The clerk squints at it, runs his fingers down a page of names and towns. Then he looks up slowly. She still lives, he says, voice like paper folding. She comes in every Thursday asking if anything has arrived. You nod. He nods. No one says anything else. He tucks the letter gently into a canvas pouch marked "To Send." Then he seals it with a drop of wax and an old brass stamp. The sound it makes, that quiet clink, echoes in your chest like a church bell at midnight. The clerk looks at you again. "Was he close to you?" he asks. You hesitate, then answer with a smile that doesn't quite reach your eyes. "He taught me how to march without looking like I was about to fall over." The clerk chuckles softly. "Sounds like a good man." "He was," you say. You tip your cap, turn, and walk out. The sun is lower now, hanging just above the rooftops. A few children are playing with sticks near a puddle. One of them waves. You wave back. You find a spot near the edge of the village, a mossy stone under a crooked tree. You sit, stretch your legs, let your back relax into the bark. You exhale deeply. One letter, finally delivered, and for a moment that's enough. You imagine Josephine receiving it, her hands trembling slightly, the way she might run her fingers over the paper, the way her eyes might close halfway through, lips pressed tight, remembering a laugh, a touch, a voice long gone. And in that moment, something returns to her, something small, but real. Behind you, the wind picks up slightly, rustling leaves. Somewhere in the village, a door creaks, a horse snorts, a pan clatters in a kitchen, and you sit with it all. The weight, the stillness, the strange comfort of having done one quiet, good thing in a world full of noise. You lean your head against the tree and close your eyes, and the world drifts away again. The emperor's shadow. The fire is small tonight, not weak, just modest. It crackles politely, throwing soft orange light against your boots and casting slow-moving shadows on the canvas behind you. The wood is damp, so the smoke curls low, hugging the ground like a lazy cat. You sit cross-legged, a tin cup of something warm in your hands, letting the steam fog your cheeks. Henri is next to you, stitching a button onto his shirt with the precision of a man performing surgery. Bernard is somewhere behind you, whispering lullabies to himself and rearranging pebbles into strange geometric patterns. He claims they ward off nightmares. Across the fire, an old man sits, older than most soldiers you've met. His coat is faded nearly white at the edges. His boots look like they've walked to the moon and back. No one knows his name. He simply appeared in the camp this morning, quiet as a feather, asking for broth and a place to rest. Now he stares into the flames like he's reading a book written in smoke. And then he speaks. "I once saw him," he says, voice low, gravelly, more breath than sound. Everyone looks up. "Saw who?" someone asks. The old man's eyes glint at the firelight. "The Emperor," he whispers, "Napoleon." No one laughs. No one rolls their eyes. Not because they believe him, but because it's the kind of story you don't interrupt, whether it's true or not. "When?" you ask gently. He leans back, adjusts his scarf. "Trafalgar, before the ships burned. Or maybe after. Time blurs. It was morning, I think. Mist everywhere, thick as soup." You glance at Henry. He shrugs, then gestures for the old man to continue. "He rode past." The man goes on, not fast, not slow, just past, like he wasn't going somewhere, but already arriving. His horse didn't make a sound. His coat was gray, but the sun caught the trim. Gold, like it was glowing from within. And his hat. He stops. You wait. His hat was just right, he finishes, nodding, as if this explains everything. A quiet settles in. The fire snaps gently. Someone adds a twig. The flames grow just enough to light the old man's face. His eyes are closed now, but his mouth twitches in a smile, as if he's seeing it all again behind his eyelids. "Did he look at you?" Bernard asks. The old man nods. Briefly. Like he already knew my name, like he'd known it forever. Henri leans forward. "And what did you do?" The man chuckles softly. "Nothing. What can you do when a shadow looks at you like that?" The conversation fades after that, not because the story ends, but because it doesn't need to continue. It lingers, gently, like the last notes of a song played too slow for anyone to remember where it started. You sip your drink again. The steam has vanished. It's just warm now, familiar. You look into the fire and picture it, the gray coat, the silent horse, the eyes that already know you. No one speaks much after that. There's a quiet respect in the air, the kind that comes when something fragile has been shared. The fire burns lower. The stars peek out through a thin veil of clouds. Henri finishes sewing and sets his shirt beside the fire to dry. Bernard arranges one final stone on his dream-warding pattern and crawls into his blanket. The old man leans back against a log, breath steady, lips still curved faintly in memory. And you? You lie on your back, hands folded on your chest, eyes on the smoke rising into the sky. Somewhere far away, cannons wait. But here, tonight, there is only this, a fire, a story, and the soft shadow of an emperor riding past in silence. When the bread was warm, you dream before you're even asleep. It begins while you're lying under your coat, eyes half-lidded, breath slowing. The fire crackles nearby, and someone's already snoring softly, rhythmic, familiar, a kind of nighttime metronome. The sky is velvet above, pierced by stars only when the clouds part briefly, like a curtain pulled back by an uncertain hand. And then, without trying, without thinking, you're back in the bakery, your family's bakery. The walls are warm stone, the windows steamed over. The smell, oh, the smell, it's flour and honey and ash and rising yeast and something sweet you can't quite name. You are young again, or maybe you're old. It doesn't matter. Time is soft here, like dough under a cloth. The room is bathed in golden light. Not sunlight exactly. More like the glow from inside a brick oven where the embers still hum from the night before. You stand beside the bench, hands covered in flour. There's a bowl of water to your left, a jar of jam to your right. A cat sleeps in the corner, twitching slightly as it dreams of mice that run in slow motion. The old baker, perhaps your father or uncle, or a man who simply belongs in this room, turns the dough gently. He doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. His hands move like music. Press, fold, turn, rest. Again and again you copy him, slowly, softly, carefully. The dough is alive. You feel its breath. You hear it sigh as it's folded, shaped, tucked under linen, and left to dream its own dreams in the dark warmth of the proving drawer. The oven is already lit. The door is slightly ajar. You peek inside and see coals glowing like tiny suns. The heat kisses your face, not sharply, but like a memory returning. The old baker hands you a fresh loaf. You hold it close. It's still warm, not hot, just perfectly warm. The crust is golden, cracked like autumn leaves. You press your fingers to it and feel the soft give beneath the shell. You don't eat it right away. You just hold it, because warmth is a rare thing now, and in this dream it means everything. Outside the bakery, bells chime, not alarm bells, not church bells, just the simple chime of a town clock telling you that somewhere a peaceful hour has arrived. The sky is pale gray, the street is quiet, Someone is sweeping their doorstep. Someone else carries a basket filled with eggs. A child runs by, giggling, chasing a hoop. The wind carries the scent of butter and soap. And all the while you hold your bread. Your coat is dry, your boots fit, your hands are clean. You feel, for the first time in what might be years, full, not with food, with something older, something gentler, something that has nothing to do with war. You take a bite. The crust cracks. The inside is soft, warm, slightly sweet. You chew slowly, deliberately, like each bite is its own story. The old baker nods at you once from across the room, and you understand. This moment is enough. This one warm loaf, this quiet room, this memory baked into the heart of you, and then, back in the present, you turn slightly under your blanket. The fire has burned low. Henri is curled on his side, murmuring in his sleep. Bernard's stones are scattered now. The old man is gone. Or maybe he was never there. But your hands still smell faintly of flour, and your chest feels full, and somewhere, tucked into the softest corner of your dreaming, the bread is still warm.